the system mode of operation, you will see a range of options that you can select from. The first selection I'm going to work with is the Applicator section. The Applicator section is where all the settings and parameters are set up for the KSi Applicator or any specific seed treaters that you have on your setup. As you select KSi Applicator, you will notice that on the right hand side the settings will all appear to where they can be edited as you move throughout each text box. The applicator is set up with the applicator name, and for this particular setup we are working with the KSi Applicator. This is the particular mapping which is set by the KSi engineer. The delay off high in seconds is, in the case of using a seed wheel, this value represents how many seconds the system will wait to start the inlet conveyor once the surge hopper high level sensor goes away. This can be changed to 1.5 seconds or 2 seconds depending on your setup and how your system is configured or laid out. The pre-start seconds is the value of how many seconds the system will wait to discharge seed into the applicator once the system is ready to treat. Generally, this is at least a few seconds to give the drum some time to ramp up to full speed. In the particular instance of our KSi Applicator, which I'll touch on a few sections down, is we actually operate off of a drum slow time, which our drum won't start for 5 to 10 seconds. But otherwise, the pre-start in seconds is a very necessary option to have. And this can be set at 3 seconds or whatever works best for your setup. The atomizer speed is only applicable to the KSi Applicator. This value is the percent speed that the atomizer will run during the treating mode. So this can be set up 50%, and that will run at half the maximum speed of that particular atomizer. The drum auto is the percent speed that the drum will run while treating. Typically, it's set around 80 to 90% for the drums. The drum slow is only applicable to the KSi Applicator, and this value is the slow speed that the drum will run when first starting to treat. With the KSi Applicator, the speed is generally set to 0 and the drum slow set to 10 to 15 seconds, just depending on your seed flow rate, just because there is a wide range of seed flow. Just depending on that, you'll either need to reduce the amount of seconds or you can increase to get a larger pile of seed in that first part of that drum. The monitor delay is how many seconds the system will wait once the treating process starts to begin monitoring liquid accuracy. This is typically set between 20 and 35 seconds before the system will start monitoring the chemical accuracy. So this could be dropped down to 25, just depending on how the setup is working. The liquid off delay is the value of how many seconds the liquids will continue to apply once the treating system is no longer receiving any more seed. And this would only be applicable to a system with a seed wheel. A system with a vary rate is actually set in a different spot. So this liquid off delay is set at 0.1. This can be moved up to 1.5, just depending on how your coverage is at the end of the batch. Shutdown in seconds is how many seconds the system will run for the shutdown mode. The shutdown mode starts as soon as seed is no longer being delivered into the applicator. Typically, this is set between 5 and 10 seconds to allow that final forward, drum run forward, if you will, because most applicators and drums will run in the forward process while treating. The idle is how many seconds the system will wait before switching from shutdown mode to cleanout mode. This is only used when controlling a treater that requires the drum to reverse direction in order to clean out. So in this particular instance with the KSi applicator, it doesn't need to reverse to clean out the system, so the idle time can be set at 0 seconds. The cleanout time is after the shutdown and the idle time, and this is how many seconds the drum will continue to run to clean out the system. So typically with our KSi applicator, it takes around 40 to 75 seconds to clean out depending on the setup and what product you're treating with. The air purge is only applicable to the KSi applicator, and this will be used when an air purge entry is plumbed into the atomizing section of the applicator, and for this particular setup, it will purge for 1.8 seconds after the treating process is complete to purge the chemical line. The loadout delay is how many seconds the loadout conveyor will continue to run once the cleanout process of the drum is complete. This can be set at 10 seconds. It just depends on your conveyor length and the angle of the conveyor on how long it will actually take to clean out. That takes care of the parameters on the applicator, the settings, and then to the left hand side there's some more check boxes, if you will, that need to be specified to set it up correctly. The first one is drum run forward. Check this box if your drum should run forward during the treating cycle. Most systems run forward during the treating cycle, so this would be checked, and for this KSi applicator, it definitely does run forward during the process. Drum end forward should be checked if the drum runs forward during the cleanout cycle. Uncheck the box if the drum needs to reverse or should reverse during the treating cycle. So for this particular instance, the drum will end running in forward. Vary rate should be checked if the KSi vary rate is being used as a seed metering device. The other option would be seed wheel control. If seed wheel control would be being used, then you would need to uncheck the vary rate box. We will leave vary rate checked for this example. The vary rate conveyor needs to be checked if there is a conveyor between the vary rate scale and the applicator. So you would only check this if vary rate is being used in this particular system. Auto batch only. This box will be checked if the system is not set up to control this treatment process. So for example, some of our systems just control conveyors only, air gates only, and none of the treating process. So for this example, I will uncheck it. It will ask you to confirm, and yes can be selected. So as you noticed, I changed some of the parameters while I was working my way down, and if a parameter is changed, the save button, which appears to be a pen and a pad of paper, needs to be pressed. Right to the left of that, you'll have the insert, or what I say is a save as button, something if you want to create a new process or a new selection. So this will not be selected in the instance that I just showed you. If you're just updating the settings within the KSi applicator itself, you would just need to press save. The delete button is represented as a trash can. that would be to delete this KSi applicator configuration. For this example, we do not need to delete this KSi applicator. And that would usually be done by a KSi technician or an engineer. The next selection that I can drill into is the vari-rate selection. So to drill into this, you click on the 3 tires with a gear, and this will open up the vari-rate configuration dialog box. The initial boost setup for this is 35%. What the initial boost is the percentage of the vari-rate gate boost open as soon as the treating process begins. The empty wait time, or in pounds, when that empty wait in pounds is reached, the vari-rate gate will open at 100% to fully empty the scale hopper. In a multi-flow setting, a crossover weight, and this is also in pounds, it opens that second scale hopper once it reaches, in this instance, that 100 pounds. And this keeps the system releasing seed at a consistent rate without having any drop off or pause in the system. These values down here are set according to a KSi technician or engineer. Those typically do not need to be altered by the operator itself. So moving back up to the initial boost, this can be edited by just typing in 30%. And really the initial boost is something that is a very key part of the vari-rate system, to where it will help you control how fast or how much sheet flow you have when you start the system. It opens that gate at that 30% opening, and then it'll look for how much weight the system is losing. So it's a very important parameter, and it can be tweaked to get better coverage or more seed, depending on what you're wanting to achieve at that start of the batch. I will press the pen with the pad of paper, which means save or update, to update my boost from 35 to 30%. The next selection I will make is the vari-rate conveyor. The vari-rate conveyor, as stated earlier, is if a conveyor is being used between the scale and the applicator. The pre-treat is how many seconds the system will start treating before the travel time is up. So the travel time is how many seconds the seed takes to travel between the vari-rate gate and the applicator. So the pre-treat time is going to, instead of starting the pumps at 5 seconds after the gate opens, it will start the pumps at 3.5 seconds after the gate opens, because this 1.5 tells the pumps to turn on 1.5 seconds earlier than the travel time. The post-treat is how many seconds the system will continue to treat after the travel time. So after that 5 seconds is up, after that travel time completes at the end of the batch, the chemical pumps will continue running for an additional 1.5 seconds. And now this can be moved down to 0.5 seconds if you're getting too much chemical applied at the end of the batch. If you're not using our vari-rate setup, then both of these, vari-rate and vari-rate conveyor, would be set to NA. To confirm your selection, you would press the check mark to the right of that. That moves us to the seed wheel, which is the other type of seed metering device that our KSi Automation can control. To select that, I selected the 3 tires with the gear, which is the database for the seed wheel. The seed wheel has settings and parameters as well that can be set by the operator. The seed wheel off delay is how many seconds the seed wheel will continue to run once the low-level sensor does not see seed anymore. So this helps ensure that the seed wheel removes all the seed from the pockets of the seed wheel. The global cal factor is the factor that affects all seed sources ran through the system, and this is for the seed wheel itself to adjust accordingly. And then we have the adjust by percentage. The adjust by percentage is at the end of each run, the cal factor for the seed source drawn from may be adjusted by this factor. So at the end of this run, the factor will adjust by 50%. And the values underneath here are set up particular to that seed wheel. So for this KSi seed wheel, the seed wheel volume, the cal volume, the gearbox ratio, and the fault over percentage and the fault under percentage are standard parameters or settings set up for the KSi seed wheel. And now those can be adjusted by your KSi technician or can be consulted and explained to you over the phone if need be. As I go back into this KSi applicator screen, you'll notice that all the devices underneath here are set at NA. To set up a seed wheel instead of a vari-rate system, I would select KSi seed wheel A. I would check my selection, and then also up in the right in the top left hand side here, I would uncheck vari-rate, and I would also come down here and press save to confirm my selection. The box run enable mode is a feature that I will explain more in depth once I explain the ordering process. The last portion that I want to explain is if the active checkbox is selected, that is telling the system that the KSi applicator is the seed treater or applicator in the system, and to look at these settings. That takes care of all the parameters on the KSi applicator page.